Champion Provider Fellowship 2023 cohort recruitment Q&A. We're going to be going over a little bit of what the Champion Provider Fellowship is as an overview, and then we'll hear a short testimonials from San Mateo County, and then we'll go over the recruitment process, and then we'd like to open it up for Q&A for those of you who have questions. Mike, would you like to share something here?
Sure. I just tell everybody, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully what we wanted to do is, I know a lot of you are very familiar with the Champion Providers program. I know many of you have worked with a champion in the past and hopefully have seen the benefit of it. We wanted to walk you through the process and help you understand how these champions really help propel the work that you do forward. This whole thing was constructed to provide an extra tool to local health departments so that they could more effectively reach into their communities and have an advocate in their community who had more quality. So we'll talk more about that as we go through this. If you can hold your questions, and we, as you can see, provided a lot of time for Q&A as we move into this all. So we wanted to really be able to answer any questions you might have as you think about looking to recruit a fellow for your community.
Great. And for today's speakers, we have Nancy Ma, who is the project manager with the Champion Provider Fellowship Program. She joined us, when was it, Nancy? September?
April of this year.
April of this year. I apologize. And then we have Mike Miller. Hopefully you'll know, and I am Muriel Benares from Miller Communication, who is taking over Paula, for those of you who are familiar with Paula Hamilton. And Dr. Wagata Samir, she will be joining us a little bit on and during the Q&A session.
Oh, yes. Okay, I see a question in the chat. Yeah, we are recording this webinar and we will post it on the Champion Provider Fellowship tomorrow. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a quick overview about the program. The Champion Provider Fellowship was created in 2014 through the partnership between California Department of Public Health and the University of California, San Francisco, to empower, train, and support healthcare providers to use their expertise and respective voices to improve the health of communities through PSE changes, specifically as it relates to obesity, dental disease, and chronic disease prevention. So the fellowship actively recruits community-based primary care providers, many of whom work at federally qualified health centers, providing care for underserved populations. Once they are onboarded, the fellows begin to embark on a series of skills and knowledge building activities related to advancing PSE changes in their communities. The fellowship uses a multi-pronged approach to increase provider capacity to affect change in their communities. This includes providing individualized training and technical assistance, such as support for their media interviews and providing feedback on any opt-ins or presentations they may have. We also provide a PSE playbook and PSE toolkits to provide case studies and roadmaps for implementing PSE changes in their communities in our 5 key areas, such as healthy food and beverage standards, food security, school wellness policy, safe routes to school, and structured physical activity. So the facilitation of linkages with LHDs and other key community organizations that can provide institutional knowledge of population health issues, identify opportunities to amplify provider voices on key issues, and provide important data to complement provider perspectives on what they are seeing in the clinical setting. So we provide a platform for peer mentorship via quarterly works in progress calls, and also engage local experts in webinar series. We also provide an annual mini college to provide skill building workshops, provider presentations, and formal and informal networking opportunities for an exchange of knowledge, ideas, and best practices. So through these efforts, we hope to take community-based providers and facilitate their growth into community change agents, affecting positive change in their communities beyond their clinic walls. So in order for the fellowship to be successful, there are 4 key elements. We have the compassionate healthcare providers volunteer their time and lend their expertise. We have our local health departments who collaborate with the providers and connect them with local resources, programs, CPOs, and community leaders. We have the California Department of Public Health, NEOP, in partnership with the Oral Health Office, who provides statewide support both financially and programmatically. And we also have faculty and staff from UCSF.
So I just wanted to chime in here a little bit about why what the champions hopefully get out of this. These are amazingly passionate players who volunteer their time. So they're giving up their time because they have a real concern about their community, and they recognize that there's only so much they can do in clinic, whether they're dentists or whether they're doctors, that there's a limitation to what they can do. And they wanted to and understand and recognize the need to be working at that policy system and environmental level. We try and do everything we can to support them. And I know that those of you who've had LHD, you've played a huge role in helping to support them and make them more successful in reaching into their community and changing things. Some of the things that we provide them with are CME and CDE certified training, so they can get some units from that. We host a whole series of webinars with them to try and increase their understanding of how to effectively work in the community, how to effectively work with policymakers and the media. We do quarterly work in progress session, which we find actually really amazing to hear the work that they're doing with you. This is a chance for us we get pretty excited on our side going through those. And then we do personalized consultation. So whenever a champion is going to be working with the media, with policymakers, if they need help, if they want one-on-one counsel, we provide that to them. We help them develop messaging, help them think through and sometimes practice their presentations if that's helpful. We also do technical assistance and training comes from the UCSF staff faculty. And if you're not familiar with it, the UCSF faculty is really deep. So they're able to reach quite deeply into the resources of UCSF and come up with some real expertise to help support those champions. And then the role that Muriel largely plays is facilitating connections between the local health departments and CBOs and trying to help with those as much as possible so that there is some coordination. And then finally, I think one of the things that the champions, especially as we go into, gosh, I can't even remember if this is our 4th or 5th cohort, but our 5th cohort. So these champions are all actually connecting with each other on a regular basis. And they've gone on to do really amazing policy work, both at the regional level, but also at the state level, just because of the connections they've made with other providers and discovering the power that when they come in, we always talk about the power of the white coat. Well, when they come in with the power of 3 or 4 white coats, it can make a real difference. So those are some of the reasons that the champions, beyond, and I want to make it really clear, beyond the fact that they're just truly passionate about making a change in their community and working with their community, these are the types of things that we do to try and support them in the efforts that they move forward. I also wanted to talk if we can go to the next slide, about the benefits that LHDs have and hopefully how this supports. Now, I know many of you, who I'm seeing the faces, have had champions in the past, so hopefully you guys can speak to this as well. But this was constructed back in 2014 when we constructed this. This was very much constructed as a partnership and has built as a stronger and stronger partnership, I think, throughout, really creating the linkage between LHDs and these champion providers. But one of the things is it's important to understand that there's real benefit as an LHD. The champions give you a lot more power and a lot more freedom as you work with the LHDs. They are first and foremost and very much of a respected advocate for change. When we see dentists and doctors standing in front of school boards, talking to city councils, meeting with the community, they have an automatic credibility. And I'll be perfectly honest, it's something that we, from the very beginning, and we've told the champions this, that we really want to take advantage of. Their voice matters to the community. And that is where I think you're going to find real power, that power of the white coat. It makes a difference. The other thing that you should understand is these are unrestricted and trained spokesperson. They are not funded by USDA. There's no restrictions on what they can or can't say. We do give them a lot of counsel on, danger spots and things that you may not want to go into, but they're speaking from a position of expertise. They're seeing things in their practice, and those resonate with the communities they're talking to. When you have a physician or a dentist who says, I have seen this happen. I can't tell you how many dental caries I've filled on 3-year-old children whose parents don't understand that giving them orange juice every day is destroying their teeth. People pay attention to that and start to really listen to that. So you've got spokespersons who can speak to those issues. And as a champion provider, they can advocate for things that you as an LHD are probably not in a position to move on to advocating for things. So they can definitely say, we need this to change in our community. That's one of the reasons they've become champion providers. And as I mentioned, I think they're incredibly influential. One of the things that we have seen these providers really make a difference in is storytelling. You as LHDs are remarkably capable of assembling facts and figures and information and data that's critical to making good policy decisions for your policymakers, whether they're school boards or city councils or whatever. They need that data. But our brains work on two sides. So there's a left side and the right side. And just as important is the storytelling, the emotional side that helps people take that data and turn it into something that's concrete and that really matters to them. And our champions, we work with our champions all the time to help them understand just how incredibly powerful it is when they start a sentence with, let me tell you what I see in my practice. Because it's the one thing that again, most of us, none of us, unless you're a provider, you don't have that experience. And being able to see families and children that are suffering and know that it's tied to nutritional issues and that there's changes that can be made is really powerful. And when our champions do this, it just changes the dynamic completely. And then the other thing that's been a huge boon, and I think you guys can take advantage of, they really understand the healthcare delivery system. It's something I've never fully been able to understand myself. It's complicated, but they do understand it. They understand Medi-Cal. They understand how all of these things work, and they give us enormous insight. And I'm hoping that as LHDs, you're able to take advantage of all these benefits. So if you're considering thinking about taking on a champion, I encourage you to talk to other colleagues in other counties that have worked with LHDs. I think you're going to find that this is an incredible asset to helping you move forward. There is, however, an expectation that you're going to work with your LHD. It is a partnership. It is not just a tool. These champions are your partner. And when they work with you, they can see what your needs are. They can backfill it. And hopefully you'll be able to work with them and help backfill their passion in helping to move things forward. So I just wanted to chime in on how important I think it is for all of you as local health departments to recognize that these champions this whole program was created to help you propel your work forward. It's not to do more work. It's to do work more effectively and to have a greater impact.
Thank you, Mike. And then we will be hearing from our testimonials right now from San Mateo County. Let me introduce you to Dr. Sharon DePiero. She was from cohort 2, and she is from Ravenswood Family Health Center. And then we have Dr. Rocky Singh from this current cohort in San Mateo County. She's the medical director for the Fair Oaks Health Center Adult Clinic. And I don't believe we have Gloria here on the call, but we do have Justin Watkins, and he has been with the Champion Provider Fellowship since 2021, but he's very familiar with the program and his other work. And they will be able to kind of give you a sense of what the partnership looks like. I'd like to turn it over to them.
All right. Thank you, Muriel. And I don't think we actually determined the order of speaking, but from, I can begin just speaking from the local health department perspective. Champion Provider Program has really provided much needed infrastructure, kind of technical infrastructure for making the connections between public health, our CalFresh Healthy Living program, and the physicians who are, on the ground or in the clinics serving community. A lot of the work that we do within my department, health policy and planning, is looking at policy systems change and strategies to address health disparities in the community, but it is removed, for the most part from clinics. And, I think we've really been able to just hit we've had a lot of success, I'll say, in recruiting wonderful physicians. So we have a real champion in our health officer and our now deputy health officer in this program. So initially I was introduced to the program, as a community health planner with health policy and planning. CalFresh Healthy Living was within our family health program. And then during cohort 1, we recruited Dr. Rachel Borovina, and really it just gave me, I think, a really good opportunity, or us all a really good opportunity to collaborate across silos within all of the same health system to work towards, real systems change. And, I think we've been able to really support physicians with implementing programs and initiatives that benefit their patients quite a bit. And so initially with Dr. Borovina, she was very passionate about increasing access to parks and open space. And we were able to launch a Parker X program that included our county parks department, other stakeholders in really helping to connect the dots all the way from a referral process within the clinic setting to park passes that were funded by our Parks Foundation that allowed patients access to the county park. So I think, the infrastructure set up by the Champion Provider Program, logistically, we meet monthly. We've been really fortunate to have Dr. DiPiero, Dr. Borovina. We're calling it kind of a sabbatical right now. We expect her to be back next year. She's continued to be involved and engaged just as a provider, wanting to collaborate. And then Gloria is not here currently, but she has really, kind of been the glue to hold a lot of the work together and, bringing us together regularly, troubleshooting, identifying additional partners to advance the work. So can't speak highly enough of the Champion Provider Program and the champion providers that we've had the opportunity to work with. It's just been a real great opportunity for me personally to see, the work that they're doing on the front lines in the clinic and partner closely. So I will pause there. I could go on and on, but I do want to share time with Dr. DiPiero and Dr.
Thank you, Justin. So I'm Sharon DiPiero at Ravenswood Family Health Center. I'm a pediatrician. I wanted to just really make a plug for the local health departments to seek out providers and to if you don't have one, to reach out to the SQHCs in particular in your area. Providers, we know that we can only do so much in a visit. And so even those of us who are not trained in public health, we eventually look upstream. We eventually, we hear the same, we hear themes. We hear, parents complaining about the same school lunches, if they're unhealthy. We hear that, or, there seems to be a time when every patient that we see comes in with obesity, or why do I have so many speech delayed kids? Oh, they don't have books at home. Or, what is happening in my community right now that's making it such that everyone has asthma exacerbations. And, sometimes it feels like just kind of banging your head against the wall. You're doing the same thing over and over at all of these visits. And so even those of us who do not have a lot or any public health training will eventually start looking outside of the office walls. And so that is really what drew me to the Champion Provider Fellowship. My medical director knew that I had an interest in working in the community further and got an email and forwarded it to me. And I was definitely on board. My professional ties had been where I was in school. I was in school in Rhode Island for 8 years, and then I was in training in Sacramento for 3 years. And even though I'm from San Mateo County, I didn't have, these community level, like organizational ties. And so I definitely identified the need to have a connection and saw the value of having a connection to our local health department. And so, you know, you guys are the experts in this community. You know the data. You know the players. You know what organizations have tried what and who's interested in something, but maybe the funding didn't come through, or that particular advocacy attempt didn't work out. And so, I think that really the beauty of this program is that connection that really does make it really special, that you have both the front liners, and we definitely, there's passion there. We are a group of very interested individuals. And then there's also, that kind of like county institutional knowledge kind of support from our partners at the health department. And so I have like tests. So it and the other thing is it takes a while. So even beyond, I think I'm part of the 2017 cohort. And so I've been lucky that my organization has committed or allowed me to have the time to continue to go to most of these monthly meetings, which is fantastic, because I do think that a lot of these connections and programs, they take a while to mature and develop and have people know who you are and kind of reach out to you later. And so kind of in these later years, post those two initial years, I've testified when like Representative Jim McGovern came to East Palo Alto on his hunger tour. It was kind of basically like testifying, but I met with them, and I have, been called on now to be on a steering committee and urban agriculture needs assessment through a community partner. And most recently it was kind of someone at Stanford wrote me into a grant to develop, improve food insecurity screening and flow and referrals out here. And so this has all really taken time, but it really, for me, started with that really valuable connection at the department. I've been very grateful to participate.
Thank you, Dr. DiPiero. Yes, let's go ahead and hear from Dr. Singh.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sharon. I'm going to just piggyback a lot on what Sharon said. So I'm the current fellow, so it's not over for me yet, but I will be sad when my time is done. I want to, first say that the power of the fellowship is the connection. And it is really, there's a lot of synergy. It's definitely more than the sum of its parts, like additive. And I'll tell you a little bit about my story and like the impact that working with the local health department has had on actually our county system. And so really my passion was in food insecurity. Back in 2016, we just did a little study and noted that close to 40 to 50% of our patients that were female between the ages of 40 and 60 that had diabetes and depression also actually were screening positive for food insecurity. And that's a pretty large number, half of the patients of this small test group. And we didn't know what to do with those patients because we didn't know where to send them. And we found a place up the street that had extra food called Samaritan House. And so and they told us they had leftover food in their pantry. So we said, hey, can we send it's about 55 patients weekly to your food pantry? And they said, sure, thinking that maybe a third or a quarter would show up, but weekly, week after week after week, 30 to 40 families would come from our small referral to get food. And we were like, man, how rare is it that you tell patients to do something and a majority of them will do it? Not just once, but time after time. And they actually told us, please stop sending patients because we can't manage the volume. And that's when we realized, my goodness, like it was just my small little practice. And so that was in 2016. And for years I've been trying to actually get the attention of the powers that be in the system that
this is a big problem. We need to screen. We need, what can we do? Because how in good conscience can I tell someone to manage their blood sugar and eat healthy when I know that there's a good chance that they just don't have resource? It just felt like malpractice in a way, and it also felt like I'm a family medicine doc. It felt like I'm like Sharon said, you're kind of like banging your head against the wall because it's an absurdity. And then comes this fellowship. And I was so excited that I was accepted in the fellowship and so happy to meet with folks in our local health department. But it started to take a life of its own where, fast forward now at the end of this year, our system is getting a Quality Leaders Award because statewide we developed a system where we're screening every patient that touches all of our clinics. And our social worker in real time will meet with any patient who's food insecure, connect them to Second Harvest Food Bank, and they're able to get food within 24 hours. And so there are a lot of bumps along the way, and the guidance from the program was so helpful. But our local health department, like I would say, I wish we had a catalog where people knew where to get food. And Justin's like, well, actually, we have that, and I didn't know. Like we were trying to reinvent the wheel, but it was there. And now I think our connection is stronger system wide. This is just the start. We're really hoping to make it so now we're looking at, do people actually like the food that they get? It's not just about getting food, but it's eating food. Do they have kitchens? Like there's so much more potential, but it's lit my fire. It's brought me a lot of joy. I'm so grateful to meet with Sharon and Rachel's Park RX. I'm holding it up. It's a prescription. This is from the first cohort that I'm able today to give to my patients in clinic so that they can go free to a San Mateo County Park. And that's just phenomenal. So the impact lives on. We are always learning from one another. It's a great group. And I'm just so grateful. It's changed my career. I'm more lit up. I'm in my 40s and, people say they get burnt out, but I'm just more excited about the work. So I'm just grateful. Can't say enough good things.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rocky. That was very insightful for all of you. Thank you, Justin. Thank you for Dr. DiPiero and Dr. Singh for that great testimonial. So I think now we'll go over very quickly the process of how to do the recruitment. And we'd like to welcome Dr. Samir on the line as well.
All right, so we will go over the 2023 cohort 5 recruitment overview. Here's a map of the past and current cohort so far. We have recruited fellows, boarded and trained in 30 California counties so far, consisting of 95 MDs and 21 dentists. We're trying to take over California, so we're slowly doing that, filling up each county with the blue color, hopefully. And the LHD's role in the recruitment process is to identify potential providers, to look for providers who are dissatisfied with the ways things are and want things to be better for their patients, and also to promote the opportunity for a fellowship, and to also solicit the health officer support for the LHD's participation in the program. The LHD also needs to have someone designated as the point person to help develop the relationship with the champion and to make sure there's communication with UCSF regarding programmatic stuff. And also to speak with the champion applicant to sort of interview them to make sure your goals are aligned and your interests are aligned. And we have our application materials on our website, and you submit them through an online Qualtrics survey. And the deadline is December 16th of this year. All right, so this is sort of like a process where we have the LHD submit their application. The champion provider fellow applicant also submits. We also have the health officer provide a letter of support as well as the employer support for the champion provider applicant. The champion provider needs to read the benefits and expectations so they're familiar with what is required for participating in the program. They need to also attend an onboarding training. They need to get a letter of support from their employer and submit it with their past fellows have gotten time off from their FQHCs to do their PSC work. So if they have their support from their employer, they can use some of their work hours to do their PSE work. She's also need to have, like I said, a point person and also read the benefits and expectations document to make sure you are familiar with what is expected to participate in this program. So all of these moving parts should all be submitted by December 16th, 2022. And the LHD champion applicant conversation. So the LHD should initiate the contact. You will introduce your program and resources and discuss your county's PSE focuses and efforts and kind of learn what the applicant's interests are and discuss ways that you can work together. And the LHD also recommends and ranks applicants in their application that you submit to the fellowship. For the selection process, so we have some key criteria that we're considering for this new cohort. In addition to what has been outlined, we're looking to those counties where there might be an active participation, where a clearly articulated alignment with the prospective fellows and area of interest and the current or future PSE priorities of the county. So like a passion for creating healthier communities, diversity, a commitment to advancing PSE changes. Here's some key dates. Our application is open now. We're doing the recruitment webinar today. The deadline is December 16th. We will announce our new cohort in February in 2023. And the onboarding training will be June 21st through the 22nd in Sacramento. All right. So here I will launch a poll just to gauge your interest in the program and to participating. So please vote in the poll, either very interested, somewhat interested, or not interested. Okay, so it looks like we're getting a mixture of very interested and somewhat interested. So that's very good. We're excited. You guys are excited. And what is the likelihood that you will be nominating a fellow for the Champion Providers Fellowship? So that one, we're getting a mix of very likely, somewhat likely, and a few not likelies. And then our last question was, you like to receive a follow-up phone call from the Champion Provider Fellowship team to discuss further. There are a few of you who have answered yes. If you can send me, Nancy, a direct message on the chat, we can reach out to you with scheduling a day for that. End the poll now. Thank you for participating.
Great. So I think we just wanted to open it up as an opportunity. If you have questions about any questions about either the fellowship, about recruitment, about approaches to recruitment, I'm happy to see that we've still got Justin and Dr. Piero and Dr. Singh on. Feel free to ask. Recruitment, I know, is a challenge. It's sometimes hard to think about where do you find a physician or dentist who might be interested? How do you approach them? We'd be happy to help out with any of those types of questions, either here on the Q&A or individually. But we really wanted to open this up. We deliberately designed this webinar so that there'd be plenty of time for you to ask questions and see if we can provide you with some answers to those questions. Because I think you can hear Justin made a strong argument for how powerful it is to have a champion provider as part of your team trying to move your PSEs forward. We're trying to go to a silent Q&A.
Yeah. People can either type it into this chat or unmute themselves.
I know many of you already had champions. Because I look at some of the names, many of you already had champions. If those of you who've had champions would also like to use this time just to give a short comment on how that worked for you, or any suggestions you have for your colleague, that'd be terrific. So you guys can also chime in and add anything along that lines.
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Awesome. So, hi everyone. I'm Fatia Darwish Al-Sherbini from LA County. Don't have a specific question because I've done this program a few times, but just wanted to share some of my experience. Something I think, like you said earlier, these fellows are not SNAP-Ed funded. So you can use that to your advantage. So we use our fellows for like two main reasons. One, on the policy side, and to help us with one of our PSC strategies. So in terms of policy, anytime there's like an action alert, an opt-ed focus on like nutrition, healthy nutrition in schools, we always encourage our fellows to, help with that advocacy part of it. We just educate them. Here's what it is. And then they kind of take it from there. And then in terms of our PSC work, when we meet with the fellows, we tell them like, for one of our big initiatives was screening patients for food insecurity. So we're really looking for physicians that worked at institution that was like thinking about it, planning it, or implementing it. So they were able to kind of lead that effort as well. Also too, when we were thinking if we really wanted to do some type of like SSB coalition, so we got a dentist that has some policy background. So when you're, doing these interviews, think about like your needs, how is it going to help you? I mean, sure, we want to help these fellows as well, right? But at the end of the day, we want this to be like a useful partnership. So think of it as like a kind of two-way street. And I know it's only a 2-year program, but I actually still meet with my fellows from previous years. We all kind of have, oddly enough, there's a time where like it fits with everyone's schedule. So I meet with like physicians from previous cohorts, current cohorts that kind of learn from each other too. Like, oh, how did you do it? How did you do this? How did you do that? And then, yeah, our current fellow, she actually, I think she submitted an opt-ed. I think it was maybe on the website, but it's a really great program and you can kind of have fun with it almost, like the structure. It's not like it has to be, so hardcore like PSC work and integrated work plan, things like that. But there's a little bit more flexibility, which I think is pretty unique. Just want to share that.
No, thank you. That's much appreciated. That you've probably had more experience with champions than anybody. You're a huge county, so not surprising that you've had more. But I just wanted to echo a comment you made about partnerships, because I think this is really important. It's important for you if you do find somebody who's interested to have a very candid. That's why one of the very first steps that Nancy outlined is to have a conversation
Yes.
with your LHD or with your champion or potential champion, because you should have a very candid, honest about what your job load looks like, what your priorities are, what your needs are. This is very much designed to help feed both sides. It is truly a partnership. And that's where we found this is very successful when everybody understands that we're both trying to help each other move something forward. It's not, honestly, I'll be frank with you. We've had the lone champions who were going to go it alone, and they've done some interesting work, but they've never had the impact that we find when they're teamed up with an LHD. And I think for the LHDs will largely tell you, those who had champions, just as Fatima was saying, this is a fairly loose approach to this. I mean, you're going to have a lot more freedom than you have with other things, but all of this can count toward the work that you're doing and being able to check off some of the things that you're trying to do.
I actually, now that we're talking, I do have a question. How many applicants do you think will be accepting this cohort? I know the last one was fairly low, but I didn't know, do you have a ballpark for this one?
Yeah. So for this cohort, we're thinking between like 10 to 12, maybe
10 to 12.
15.
Okay.
So we have shrunk the cohort. Part of that is a funding issue, but the bigger part is it gives us more time to have one-on-one engagement with the champions. And we're finding we really are seeing a much higher level of success. So it does mean that it becomes this, there's only a limited amount of spaces. So if you are interested, I strongly encourage you to get in contact with Nancy or with Muriel, find out whatever you need to do and start thinking about how you might go about recruiting, because we unfortunately usually we can't accept all applicants, and UCSF does a very thorough job of vetting our applicants to make sure that they understand what the expectations are, as well as they have the capacity to really be able to help move these community issues forward. And we've been so fortunate to have just superstar champions every time. But yeah, I think I just want to make it clear there is a limited amount of space. And so, finding an applicant, working with your applicants so that they have as successful of an application as possible is really, I see that Jenna has a question in the chat. I was just going to read it off. Is it likely that this program will continue annually? I'm interested, but I think the timeline of the fiscal year 23 cohort will be too quick for a turnaround for us. This is always based on funding. Every year we have to find out if we're going to secure funding, but our expectation, we've never had a problem. So our expectation is that we will continue this. I do want to make it clear, each cohort is for 2 years. So we do this every 2 years. It's not every year. So we won't do this again until 2025 will be the next cohort. And even though Nancy may get me for this, the December 16th we tend to be fairly liberal about that. If you need more time and if you're actively looking if you let us know, we can manage around that to some extent. So.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Wakata. Sorry, I was having some audio issues and I am en route from a conference. Just wanted to also chime in, and I direct Champion Provider Fellowship. Just wanted to also chime in and echo what Mike said, that it really does help us if you communicate with us through the process. This isn't sort of a closed application where you can't provide any input. It does help us to have that context. If you submit multiple applicants, letting us know who you really feel like is the best fit, pseudo sort of kind of ranking, and that all helps us as we're kind of trying to decide who to bring into the program. So I think just wanted to make sure that you guys know that there are open lines of communication, and tell us how we can help you. And I think one question that wasn't in the poll that I would add is, if there are some barriers you're thinking about to applying, we want to hear about that. Let us know, and we can do our best to help address those.
And Jenna, I hope that you could make it happen, because we'd love to see Mono have a champion. That would be terrific.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at your map, I was like, oh, we do all 3 counties there on the eastern side. I'm sure that would be beneficial for everyone. It's just a pretty new program for us as far as hearing about it, and just hearing, the stories are great. I think the idea of the connection would be fantastic. But hearing other counties, like hearing the thought of like having several providers who are interested and putting them in preference order, like to the smaller counties, it's like, I'm just looking for one. So like that sort of thing. I'm like, oh, that sounds nice. We have different challenges. But I think this would be something really great for, we have some coalition contact, and just thinking to do this right. And with the current workload of everyone in the holidays, I just feel like it's going to feel really rushed. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, but I am not the person on my team who will work directly with the provider. So I think the first step is talking to her and seeing what her workload looks like. And so, but it's just great. I was really looking forward to hearing more. So thank you for all of this information and all the testimonials. They're great.
Great.
And thank you, Jenna. And don't hesitate to reach out to Nancy and I. We're happy to hop on a call. If there are other questions you want us to be done on a call, we're happy to do that. So just do let us know.
Hi, Nancy. This is Valerie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. Hi, I have a question. I was surprised to see that the onboarding training is in June as opposed to in the spring, because historically it's been in the springtime. Is there any specific reason why it's pushed back so late?
Yeah, so it's pushed back to give us some planning time, and because we have staff, me will be on leave,
Oh,
and
that's
I
right.
would like to be back so I can meet the new cohort in June.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? Well, again, I hope that you'll all give this some consideration. I also hope if you're thinking about it but not sure, that you'll reach out to any of us on the screen right now and have a conversation with us. We would love to tell you more about this. We'd like to, just as Fatina said, that we are not a rigid organization. I mean, there's four of us with Monet are the players that are moving all this forward. So we want to make it work for you. And if you're thinking about it but not sure, I really encourage you to give us a phone call. Let's jump on the phone and talk a little bit more about it. And we may also be able to suggest to you how you might go about, if you don't know how to find a champion, how you might go about recruiting a champion and different ways to make that effective. Hopefully we'll be able to broaden out the map or concentrate on the map wherever you have needs. I think just as Jenna was saying, there's lucky regions who have had multiple champions and they've figured out that really works for them. But we want to make sure that every county has a real shot at this, and anything we can do to make that possible, please let us know.